Hi everybody, I'm McGee Moody. I'm a financial advisor here with Cornerstone Financial Management. You guys all know Ken. You've seen him multiple times on these videos. We're here today to talk a little bit about a few different scenarios. And Ken had a great story the other day that he heard through Dave Ramsey. And Ken, I'll just kind of pitch this over to you. But the thing that automatically catches people's ear is when you hear what Dave said about burning your money. And so can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one that I've seen him mention on a couple of different calls. But I like the way he's positioning this to help us understand. The situation here was a guy called in, I think he was approaching retirement. He had worked hard his whole life. He and his wife, they had accumulated a reasonable amount of assets. I think he said they had around $1.5 million in retirement assets. Right. Sounded like they were pretty frugal with their money. He was considering spending $15,000 on a toy. I don't know what, a car or an ATV or something. And he was having heartburn about, is this okay? Can I spend $15,000 on a toy or a vacation or whatever? And so he calls Dave, proposes this to Dave. And Dave said, well, look at it this way. So to determine how much it's okay to spend on something like this, a frivolous item, he said, if you took the same amount of money in your front yard and you lit it on fire, would it change your life? I was like, that's actually a pretty good way to look at it. Right. Like, if I spend, because this guy was going to spend $15,000, he's got $1.5 million in retirement. Right. $15,000 is not enough to make an impact in his life. Sure. So Dave's advice to him was, go spend the $15,000. It's not going to change your life. But he said, now if it was $800,000, you probably wouldn't light that on fire in your front yard. We probably don't need to spend that kind of money. So I think it's a good way for us to look at when is it okay to spend money on things that aren't like quote unquote investments. Like if I buy a car, I know it's depreciating in value. Right. If I go on a vacation, I'm not getting any return on that other than life experience and memories. Right. Doesn't mean it's wrong to spend it, but at what point is it too much? So I like the idea of, if I burn this money in my front yard, would it change my life? If the answer is no, then I might be okay to do this. You spend this money on this item. I think it's a good way for us to look at it. So I think if you're considering that, should I spend money on this? Think of it that way. If I burn this in my front yard, would I have to work an extra 5 years to make up for it? If the answer is yes, then you probably don't need to do that. With
a lot of our clients that I think that we see, one of the biggest issues that we have with people that have worked really hard and saved really hard is actually letting them know that it's okay to spend it. I think that's a great way to explain it to somebody who really does have that tight grip on their finances and are really afraid to let go. Once they build that wealth, letting them enjoy that wealth is something that's hard to kind of flip that switch with from time to time. So I think that's a great way to explain it.
That's a good point. We run into that all the time. I can't tell you how many clients I've seen when they retire, they've done everything right for 40 years. You know, live within their means, they save a percentage of their income, they put money in their 401k, they invest the way they're supposed to. And then when they retire, they have there's a psychological hurdle to give themselves permission to spend the money. Because their whole life they've been conditioned to, we need to work and we need to save and work and save. And now you're doing neither. You're no longer working and you're no longer saving. You're actually doing the opposite. You're not working and you're taking the money out. And it feels wrong. Mentally it feels wrong. So, and Dave talked about that on this call. He said, you know, there's a psychological stress that goes with starting to spend your money when you've been saving it your whole life. So using this as a gauge to say, okay, this is new for me. I'm now spending my retirement. I've never done this before. How much is it okay to spend? Right. Use the burn the money analogy and say, all right, then if I can burn the money in the front yard and I'm not going to miss it, probably okay to spend it. So kind of a crude analogy, but I think it's very effective to help us figure out what should we spend, what should we not.
Yeah. So, get these questions a lot. If you have questions for us, let us know, reach out, and we'll sit down and talk to you about them.